She was left for dead after refusing a marriage. A human warrior carried her into his arms. The sun was setting over the jagged cliffs of Zathra, painting the sky with streaks of orange and red. Princess Liara stood at the edge of the royal balcony, her hands resting on the cold metal railing, watching the desert winds carry dust across the valley below. For weeks, her mind had been heavy with one thought: the arranged marriage her council demanded. A union meant to secure political power, to bind her planet to the neighboring warlord's empire. But Liara could not agree. Her heart, her spirit, and even her sense of justice rebelled at the idea of being handed over like a prize. Her refusal had caused uproar in the royal court. Advisors whispered in corners, some with fear, some with contempt. The warlord, a cruel figure known for his merciless tactics, had not taken the refusal lightly. Threats had been made, letters sent, and yet Liara remained steadfast. To her, the price of submission was too high, not for herself alone, but for the people she loved and the future of her planet. The night was quiet, but danger moved through the shadows. Her guards, loyal though they were, could not anticipate every trap. In a blink, a group of cloaked figures emerged from the darkness, silent as the wind, their weapons glinting in the fading light. Liara sensed them too late. She drew her energy blade, the hum of it sharp in the still air, but she was outnumbered. The attackers struck with precision, targeting her with the intent to end her life. Liara fought with every ounce of strength she had, deflecting strikes, ducking, and countering. Her training as a princess included combat skills, and she had been taught to defend herself. But exhaustion weighed her down. She had been preparing for years for diplomacy, for negotiations, not for a fight to the death against assassins. One of the attackers landed a heavy blow to her side, knocking her off balance. Another struck her shoulder. Pain shot through her body, sharp and consuming. She fell to the ground, her blade slipping from her grasp. The attackers did not pause. One final strike came down toward her chest, and darkness threatened to take her. Her vision blurred, and for a moment she thought of surrender. Not to marriage, not to the warlord, but to the cold embrace of unconsciousness. She would not give up, she told herself, but her body could no longer obey. Far from the royal city, Kale walked through the rocky desert, the wind tugging at his cloak. He had been hired to escort a trade convoy, nothing more, nothing less. He was a human warrior, born and raised on frontier worlds where danger was a constant companion. Humans were considered fragile by many alien civilizations, but Kale had learned long ago that courage and determination mattered more than size or species. He had survived storms, beasts, and battles that would have ended the lives of less skilled warriors. Kale's instincts were sharp, honed over years of navigating uncertain terrain. That night he noticed a faint shimmer on the cliffs ahead, a glimmer of light moving in a way that did not belong to the natural landscape. Curious and cautious, he approached. At first, he thought it might be a traveler, perhaps a trader lost in the desert. But as he drew closer, his eyes widened. Princess Liara lay on the rocky ground, her clothes torn, her body battered, and her breathing shallow. Her energy blade lay discarded nearby, dim and useless. Kale's heart, seasoned as it was, felt a moment of unease. He had faced many warriors in his time, many alien mercenaries, but he had never seen someone so gravely wounded, yet alive in the middle of the desert. Without hesitation, Kale ran to her side. He knelt, checking for movement, gently brushing the dust from her face. "Hey," he said softly, "stay with me, you're not alone." His voice was steady, calm, commanding, and oddly comforting. Liara stirred slightly, her eyes flickering open, revealing the violet hue of her irises. Her gaze met his, wide with fear, pain, and confusion. "Who?" she whispered, her voice weak. "Who are you?" "A human," Kale replied simply. "I'm going to get you out of here." Liara's mind struggled to comprehend. Humans were considered fragile, almost ornamental in many alien societies. Yet here was one, strong, unafraid, and willing to risk himself to save a stranger. She wanted to speak, to question, but her body refused. Every movement caused her pain, and the desert air made her lungs ache. Kale assessed the terrain quickly. The cliffs were steep, and the path down was treacherous, but he could not leave her here. The attackers could return, and even if they did not, the desert would be merciless by morning. He lifted her carefully, cradling her in his arms. Despite her alien physiology, she was not overly heavy, and Kale moved with practiced ease. As he descended the cliffs, Kale kept talking, his voice a steady anchor for the princess. "We're going to be fine," he said. "Just hold on, don't give up. You're stronger than you know." He avoided looking down, focusing on each careful step, making sure neither of them fell. Liara clung to consciousness, her mind a swirl of fear, disbelief, and awe. Humans were unpredictable, often underestimated, yet here was one defying expectation. His courage burned bright, and for the first time since the attack, she felt a flicker of hope. They reached the desert floor, and Kale scanned the horizon. In the distance, he saw faint lights, a small human settlement, hidden from the main trade routes. It was a risk, but the only chance she had. He moved swiftly, ignoring the soreness in his muscles from carrying her, ignoring the growing chill of the night. When they arrived, the villagers were startled. Few humans ventured so far, and fewer still carried a wounded alien princess in their arms. Kale called out for the healer, explaining her condition. The villagers worked quickly, taking Liara inside a sturdy building and beginning immediate treatment. Kale remained outside for a moment, his mind alert for any sign of pursuit. Inside, Liara drifted between consciousness and sleep. The healer worked with precision, cleaning wounds, applying energy stabilizers, and administering nutrients to help her recover. She was fragile, yet there was a resilience about her that reminded Kale of why he had risked everything to find her. When Liara finally opened her eyes again, she saw Kale sitting quietly in the corner, watching over her. For a moment she could not speak, her pride and disbelief clashing with gratitude. Finally she whispered, Why did you help me?" Kale smiled faintly. "Because no one deserves to be left to die, princess. Not for politics, not for power, not for anything. You have a choice to live, and I'm giving you the chance to take it." Liara's heart swelled, a mix of emotions she could not name. She was a princess, trained to command armies and negotiate with empires, yet here she was, humbled by the simple yet profound act of a human warrior. Days passed. Liara slowly regained her strength, aided by the healer and watched carefully by Kale. The human settlement was modest, far removed from the political intrigue of her palace, yet it was safe. During these days, she learned about Kale, his past, his travels, the harsh worlds he had survived, and the philosophy that drove him. He was not perfect, nor was he noble by alien standards, but he was honest, brave, and unwaveringly committed to doing what was right. In turn, Kale learned about Liara, not just the princess, but the person. Her intelligence, her bravery, and her refusal to bow to injustice became evident in small ways. The way she questioned plans, the way she strategized even from her bed, the way she insisted on helping in any small way she could. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the desert, Liara turned to Kale. "I have enemies," she said quietly. "They will come for me again. They won't stop until I am dead or captured. You've risked everything to save me. Why care?" Kale looked at her, his expression calm but intense. "Because some things are bigger than politics, bigger than fear. Life, freedom, justice, and sometimes helping someone is enough reason. You are not just a princess, Liara, you are a person. And no one should decide your fate but you." Liara's eyes glistened. She had expected betrayal, indifference, or fear. Instead, she found courage and humanity in the unlikeliest of forms. That night, as she drifted into a sleep free from pain and fear, she realized something profound. Humans, despite their reputation, had a strength that was different from alien might. It was in their courage, their compassion, their refusal to be controlled by fear or politics. Kale sat outside, watching over the settlement. He knew this was only the beginning. The warlord would not rest, and neither would Liara's enemies. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He had saved a life, defied danger, and perhaps, in doing so, changed the course of a planet. As the desert wind whispered through the dunes, carrying the scent of distant lands, both human and alien understood one thing: the story was just beginning. Their paths had crossed not by chance, but by the convergence of courage and destiny. And together, they would face whatever the galaxy threw at them. The morning sun rose over the desert, casting long shadows across the small human settlement. Princess Liara stirred, her body still weak from the attack but stronger than the day before. The healer had been careful, providing her with nutrients, bandaging her wounds, and instructing her on exercises to regain mobility. Each step, each movement reminded her that she was alive, and for the first time since the ambush, she felt hope. Kale was already awake, patrolling the perimeter of the settlement. His sharp eyes scanned the horizon, alert for any signs of danger. Humans were not welcome on many parts of Zathra, and an alien princess could draw unwanted attention. Kale had learned early that patience and vigilance were as important as strength. He returned to the building where Liara was staying, checking on her progress. "You are moving faster today," he said, noticing her attempt to rise from the bed with less strain. Liara managed a weak smile. "I am trying," she replied. "I cannot stay in bed forever. My enemies will not wait for me to recover." Kale nodded. "True. But rushing could cost you more than you think. Recovery first, then planning." She sighed, her pride chafing against the reality of her situation. For a princess, being helpless was an unfamiliar feeling. She had always commanded armies, given orders, and expected them to be carried out. Now she relied on a human stranger, and yet she felt a strange sense of respect for him. His courage, his dedication, and the way he carried himself with confidence inspired trust. Days passed in this rhythm. Kale taught Liara how to move safely, how to defend herself even with limited strength, and how to navigate the terrain without exposing herself to danger. She learned quickly, her sharp mind absorbing his instructions. She also observed him closely, his calm under pressure, his ability to improvise, and his understanding of tactics. She began to realize that humans, despite their reputation for fragility, had a unique kind of resilience. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the desert, Liara asked Kale about his past. "You have seen many worlds," she said, "fought many battles. How do you survive so long? What drives you?" Kale looked at her, thoughtful. "Survival is a combination of skill and will," he said. "But the will is the stronger part. Humans survive because we refuse to give up, even when the odds are against us. And sometimes, we fight not for glory or wealth, but because we believe it is the right thing to do." Liara considered his words. She had seen warriors from many species, known for strength, speed, and advanced technology, yet humans endured with far less. Their ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to care for one another gave them an advantage that brute strength could not match. The peace of the settlement, however, was fragile. News of the princess's survival had begun to spread. Scouts from the warlord's forces had started moving through the desert, searching for any trace of her. Kale was aware that it was only a matter of time before they arrived. He began training the local villagers, teaching them simple defensive tactics, how to set traps, and how to respond to threats. Many humans were hesitant at first, unused to combat, but Kale's confidence was contagious. Slowly they began to learn, their fear replaced by determination. Liara watched the preparations with interest. She contributed where she could, advising on strategies, pointing out weaknesses in the terrain, and observing Kale's methods. Even weakened, she was still a leader, and her mind worked like a blade, cutting through uncertainty to find solutions. Kale respected her input, and their mutual trust grew. One afternoon, Liara and Kale walked together along the settlement's perimeter. She leaned on a staff provided by the healer, her strength returning slowly. "Kale," she said, "I am used to being in control. It is strange to rely on another to follow someone else's lead." Kale smiled faintly. "Leadership is not about following blindly," he said. "It's about knowing when to act, when to listen, and when to trust those around you. You have leadership in your blood, Liara, but even the strongest leaders need allies." Liara looked at him, understanding dawning. Humans and aliens were different in many ways, but courage and wisdom were universal. She had underestimated them, as many did, but Kale had shown her that strength came in many forms. The first sign of trouble came at dusk. Scouts sent by the warlord appeared at the edge of the desert, moving cautiously but purposefully. Kale noticed them immediately. "They're close," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We need to prepare, everyone to their stations." The villagers scrambled, following Kale's instructions. They positioned themselves along defensive points, set traps, and fortified their small settlement. Liara, though still weak, took her place at the center, coordinating with Kale. She realized that the skills she had learned under Kale's guidance were now crucial. The warlord's forces approached under the cover of darkness, confident that the humans would be easy prey. They were wrong. Kale had anticipated their tactics, using the terrain and the settlement's limited resources to maximum effect. Traps slowed the attackers, while hidden shooters, guided by Kale's strategy, took precise actions that disrupted their formation. Liara watched, fascinated. The humans were not merely defending. They were improvising, adapting, and thinking ahead. Their resilience and creativity made them formidable opponents. She could see now why Kale had survived so many battles. When the battle reached its peak, Kale and Liara found themselves together in the center of the settlement, facing a group of elite warriors sent to eliminate her. Liara's energy blade was weak from her injuries, but Kale fought beside her, his movements precise and powerful. They moved as a team, Kale covering her, Liara striking with careful precision. Despite being outnumbered, the humans' ingenuity and coordination turned the tide. The attackers were confused by traps, forced into disadvantageous positions, and eventually overwhelmed. Liara realized that human strength was not just physical, it was in strategy, adaptability, and courage under pressure. After the skirmish, the settlement was quiet again, though the tension remained. Liara tended to minor injuries with Kale's guidance. She could feel the bond between them growing stronger, a partnership forged in danger and mutual respect. That night, Kale and Liara sat outside, watching the stars. The desert was calm, the battle over for now, but the knowledge of future threats lingered. Liara spoke softly, her voice filled with awe and curiosity. "Kale, I never understood humans before. We thought you were weak, fragile, but you are remarkable." Kale chuckled. "Most don't understand until they see it for themselves. Humans survive because we refuse to quit. Because we care about more than ourselves. Because we believe in doing what's right even if it's hard." Liara nodded, her mind turning over his words. She had always believed in strength, in leadership, in honor. Now she understood that courage came in many forms, and humans possessed a kind that could inspire, protect, and change the course of events in ways brute force never could. The days turned into weeks. Kale continued to train the villagers, strengthen defenses, and prepare for the inevitable return of the warlord's forces. Liara regained more strength each day, learning to move, fight, and plan alongside him. Together, they created a small but formidable force, blending human ingenuity with alien experience. During these weeks, a bond formed beyond simple survival. Liara began to admire Kale's calm under pressure, his patience, and his unwavering commitment to protect life. Kale, in turn, respected Liara's intelligence, her courage, and her refusal to bow to fear or intimidation. They spoke often of the future, of what could be changed, and of the possibilities that existed when different worlds and peoples worked together. One afternoon, scouts reported unusual movement in the desert. Kale and Liara studied the patterns carefully. "They are testing us," Kale said. "They want to see how prepared we are, how far we can be pushed." Liara nodded. "Then we will be ready. We have learned, adapted, and grown stronger. We will not be easy prey." When the warlord's forces finally returned, the settlement was ready. This time, the humans and Liara fought with confidence, moving as a coordinated unit. Every trap, every strategy, every decision reflected Kale's training and Liara's intelligence. They had become a team, stronger together than they could ever be alone. As the battle raged, Liara realized the depth of her admiration for the humans. They were not perfect, nor were they as physically imposing as many alien species, but their courage, adaptability, and moral strength made them exceptional. Kale had shown her that humans could be leaders, warriors, and saviors in ways that defied expectation. When the attackers were finally forced to retreat, the settlement stood firm. Liara and Kale surveyed the aftermath, their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced. They had survived, yes, but more importantly, they had learned. They had learned that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity could overcome even the most daunting challenges. That night, as the stars sparkled above the desert, Liara turned to Kale. "I see now why you humans are special," she said. "Not because of strength alone, but because of your heart, your mind, and your spirit. You inspire those around you, even in the darkest moments." Kale smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. "And you, Liara, remind me that courage is universal. Different worlds, different species, it doesn't matter. Courage, honor, and the desire to do what is right, that is what makes us strong." The night passed quietly, but both knew it was only a temporary calm. The warlord would not give up, and the challenges ahead would test them further. But for now, they rested, strengthened by each other's presence, ready to face whatever came next. In the desert, under the twin moons, a human and an alien princess prepared for the future together, united not by politics or duty, but by respect, courage, and the shared will to survive and protect what they held dear. The desert wind howled across the settlement, carrying with it a sense of urgency. Princess Liara, now stronger and more confident after weeks of recovery, stood beside Kale on the high lookout platform. Her violet eyes scanned the horizon, alert for any sign of the approaching enemy. The humans she had trained alongside were ready, their determination shining through in every action. Yet, despite their readiness, the tension in the air was palpable. Kale adjusted the strap of his gear and surveyed the distance. "They're coming," he said. "More organized than before. They've learned from their first attempt." Liara's jaw tightened. "They underestimated us once. They will not make that mistake again, but we must be careful. Their numbers are larger, their strategy better." Kale nodded. "We have something they don't: ingenuity, teamwork, and the will to survive. They may have technology and numbers, but we have determination and adaptability." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows of the enemy force began to appear, moving with precision and coordination. The warlord had learned that brute force alone would not work. His forces were equipped with advanced weaponry and armored exosuits, designed to overwhelm any defenders. But Kale had anticipated their moves. The settlement's defenses had been reinforced, traps carefully hidden, and strategic positions manned by humans and a few loyal alien allies who had chosen to stand with Liara. Liara's heart raced, but her mind was clear. She had learned from Kale, not just how to fight, but how to think ahead, to anticipate enemy actions, and to lead when necessary. Even though she was still weaker than before the ambush, she understood that her role now was as much about strategy and guidance as it was about combat. The first clash came at nightfall. Scouts sent by the warlord attempted to breach the perimeter, moving cautiously to avoid the traps. Kale had instructed the villagers to remain hidden, striking only when the enemy was within effective range. When the scouts stepped onto the sand, they triggered concealed sensors that activated alarms and defensive mechanisms. Nets fell, lights flashed, and the sound of energy pulses filled the air. The enemy was confused. They had expected an easy target, but the settlement's defenders struck with coordinated precision. Kale moved swiftly, directing human fighters to intercept and neutralize the intruders. Liara watched, noting the way humans used their environment to their advantage. They were not stronger than the enemy in raw power, but they compensated with strategy, quick thinking, and teamwork. When the scouts were repelled, the warlord's main force began its advance. This time, the assault was larger, more coordinated, and more dangerous. Liara took her place with Kale at the command center, using maps and sensors to monitor enemy movements. "They are splitting into 3 groups," she observed. "One will attempt to flank us from the north, another from the south, and the main force will come straight for the settlement." Kale nodded. "We will use their confidence against them. Liara, I need you to coordinate the defense for the flanks. I'll handle the center." Liara swallowed her fear and nodded. She felt a strange mixture of pride and responsibility. She was no longer merely a victim in need of protection. She was an active participant in defending her people. Her mind worked quickly, positioning units, predicting enemy movements, and setting traps where they would be most effective. Kale observed silently, impressed by her sharp instincts and clear thinking. The battle began in earnest. The northern flank was the first to engage, with enemy units attempting a rapid advance. Liara's traps and carefully positioned marksmen disrupted their formation, slowing their progress. She watched the humans she had trained move with confidence, striking precisely, using their limited numbers effectively, and supporting one another. Each time a human took a calculated risk, it paid off, demonstrating the ingenuity and bravery that had drawn her respect. Meanwhile, Kale faced the main force at the center. The attackers were well equipped, but Kale remained calm. He used the terrain to his advantage, leading the enemy into narrow passes where their numbers counted for less. He coordinated with hidden units, timing attacks perfectly to create confusion and panic. Every move he made displayed the human qualities Liara had come to admire: adaptability, courage, and the ability to inspire others to act beyond their limits. The southern flank faced a particularly aggressive assault. Liara realized that the enemy commander leading this group was skilled, adapting quickly to counter their defenses. She made a quick decision, ordering a small group to feign retreat, luring the commander into a trap she had set earlier. The plan worked. The enemy unit was caught and the southern flank stabilized. Liara felt a surge of satisfaction, knowing that her decisions had a direct impact on the battle's outcome. As the battle raged through the night, Liara found herself side by side with Kale on the battlefield. Despite her injuries, she moved with purpose, guiding units, giving orders, and striking when necessary. Kale fought with precision and strength, his human agility and endurance proving crucial. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. The warlord's forces, however, were relentless. They had anticipated resistance and had prepared for prolonged engagement. Liara and Kale's side suffered losses, and the humans' endurance was being tested. Yet, despite fatigue and fear, they continued to fight. Kale's calm and confidence inspired them, while Liara's presence reminded them of what they were defending: not just their lives, but hope, freedom, and the possibility of a better future. At one critical moment, a group of elite warriors broke through the northern defenses, aiming directly for Liara. Kale reacted instantly, intercepting them and buying time. Liara, though weaker than before, took her energy blade and struck with careful precision. Her attacks were measured, aimed to disable rather than kill, but effective enough to neutralize threats. The humans she had trained joined in, their movements coordinated, a testament to the teamwork Kale had instilled. The battle stretched on for hours, both sides displaying resilience and strategy. Liara realized that human strength was not measured in raw power, but in endurance, courage, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Every decision mattered, every action had consequences, and humans excelled in using their minds as much as their bodies. As dawn approached, the warlord's forces began to falter. Exhausted, disoriented, and demoralized by the unexpected resistance, they retreated, leaving behind the battlefield. Liara and Kale surveyed the aftermath, their faces marked with fatigue but also relief. They had survived, and more importantly, they had proven that determination, ingenuity, and courage could overcome even the most formidable opponents. The humans in the settlement celebrated quietly, aware that victory had come at a cost, but also knowing that they had achieved something remarkable. Liara moved among them, offering words of encouragement and gratitude. She felt a deep respect for these people, their strength, and their willingness to fight for what was right. Kale joined her, his expression calm but satisfied. "They will think twice before returning," he said, "but this is only the beginning." "The warlord will not give up easily," Liara nodded. "We will be ready. Together, humans and aliens can face anything. I have seen it tonight. Courage and wisdom working together can change the course of events." Kale looked at her, impressed by her understanding. "You have learned well, and you have reminded me why humans fight, not for glory but for what is right. That is what makes us strong." In the days that followed, Liara and Kale worked tirelessly to repair the settlement and reinforce defenses. They trained the humans further, teaching advanced tactics and strategies, while Liara shared insights into alien combat techniques. Their partnership had become a symbol of cooperation, trust, and mutual respect. During quiet moments, they spoke of the future. Liara shared her vision for her planet, one where humans and aliens could coexist, learn from one another, and build a society based on fairness and courage. Kale spoke of his experiences across the galaxy, the countless worlds he had seen, and the lessons he had learned about resilience, morality, and the strength of individuals united by purpose. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the desert, Liara turned to Kale. "I have seen humans face fear and danger, yet continue to fight. You inspire loyalty and courage not through power but through heart and mind. It is remarkable." Kale smiled. "And you, Liara, inspire through wisdom and courage. Different worlds, different species, yet together we can face anything. This is what makes humans and allies strong, the willingness to act, to protect, and to persevere." Their bond deepened, rooted in mutual respect, shared experience, and the understanding that true strength was more than physical might. It was courage, adaptability, and the ability to act decisively for what was right. They had survived the first major assault, but the warlord remained a threat, determined to claim Liara and crush any resistance. As the sun rose, casting light over the repaired settlement, Liara and Kale prepared for the future. They knew the next battle would be more challenging, the enemy more cunning, and the stakes higher. Yet they also knew that together, humans and aliens could overcome any obstacle. The courage of one human warrior had inspired an alien princess, and together they had proven that determination, ingenuity, and moral strength could change the course of a conflict. In that moment, Liara understood something profound. Humans were special not because of raw strength or technology, but because of their spirit. Their bravery, creativity, and unwavering commitment to what was right could inspire others, change the odds, and shape the destiny of worlds. Kale watched the horizon, ready for whatever came next. He had seen countless battles, faced overwhelming odds, and survived through skill and determination. But the partnership with Liara, the bond forged in danger and trust, reminded him of why humans fought not for glory or recognition, but to protect life, freedom, and hope. Together, they stood, ready to face the challenges ahead. The warlord would return, the threats would grow, but the courage and ingenuity of humans, combined with the wisdom and strength of allies, would continue to defy expectation. They had survived, learned, and grown stronger. And in doing so, they had shown that even the darkest night could be met with light, determination, and the unyielding will to protect what mattered most. The desert stretched endlessly under the scorching sun, but the settlement had transformed into a stronghold. Kale and Liara had spent weeks fortifying defenses, training humans, and coordinating with alien allies. Every wall, every trap, every strategy had been meticulously planned, yet both knew that the true test was approaching. The warlord would not be satisfied with a minor defeat. He would return with overwhelming force, determined to claim Liara and crush any resistance. Liara stood atop the central lookout tower, her energy blade at her side, and surveyed the horizon. She had regained almost all her strength, but the scars of the ambush remained in her mind. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, took in every movement in the distance. "Kale," she said, her voice steady, "they are coming. Not scouts this time, the full force." Kale tightened the straps of his armor and checked the perimeter. "I know, this is it. Every lesson we've learned, every strategy we've prepared will be tested tonight. Are you ready?" Liara nodded. "I am, and so are the humans. They trust your judgment as much as they trust mine. Together, we can face them." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the warlord's army appeared on the edge of the desert. The ground trembled with the march of armored units, the glint of weapons reflecting the dying light. They had learned from their previous defeat, and their formation was tighter, more disciplined. Kale and Liara's eyes met, silent communication passing between them. It was time. Kale moved swiftly along the defensive line, checking positions, giving last-minute instructions, and offering words of encouragement. Humans and a few alien allies had taken their places, their determination evident in their posture and readiness. Liara, though physically smaller than most of the soldiers around her, exuded a commanding presence. Her voice, calm but firm, guided the defenders, showing them where to hold, where to strike, and how to adapt to the enemy's movements. The first wave of attackers reached the outer perimeter. Kale signaled the hidden units, and energy nets, automated turrets, and traps activated simultaneously. The enemy, expecting an easy march, was caught off guard. Confusion spread through their ranks as humans and aliens coordinated strikes, targeting critical units and forcing the attackers to reconsider their advance. Liara watched closely, her mind analyzing every move. She could see the patterns, the way the enemy adapted, and she made rapid decisions to counter their strategy. She directed small teams to flank, repositioned marksmen, and adjusted traps on the fly. Despite her injuries from before, her agility and sharp mind made her an indispensable part of the battle. Kale, at the center, faced the brunt of the assault. The warlord's elite warriors were powerful, but Kale moved with precision and calm. Every action was calculated. He anticipated attacks, exploited weaknesses, and inspired those around him. His humanity, often underestimated by aliens, proved to be his greatest strength. Humans might not have the raw power of other species, but they made up for it with ingenuity, courage, and an unyielding will to survive. As the night deepened, the warlord himself appeared on the battlefield, mounted on a massive armored beast. His presence was imposing, and his forces surged with renewed aggression. Liara's heart pounded, but fear did not control her. She remembered Kale's lessons. Strategy, adaptability, and courage were more powerful than fear. She signaled a coordinated strike, directing the defenders to focus on weakening the enemy's formation rather than confronting the warlord directly. The battle raged fiercely. Energy blasts lit the night, the sound of combat echoing across the desert. Kale moved through the fray, protecting vulnerable units, intercepting elite attackers, and coordinating counterattacks. Liara, moving with the grace and precision of a trained warrior, joined him when the enemy threatened to break through. Together, they became a seamless team, her intelligence and agility complementing his strength and tactical skill. The warlord, frustrated by the unexpected resistance, directed his forces to focus on Liara. He believed that capturing or killing her would break the defenders' morale. Kale noticed the shift immediately. Liara, they are coming for you directly. Stay close. We will handle them together. Liara followed his lead, relying on the training she had received and the trust she had in him. When the enemy reached their position, Kale and Liara struck as one. He deflected attacks with his combat skills, while she used her energy blade to disable attackers with precision. Their teamwork, honed through weeks of preparation, allowed them to control the battlefield even against overwhelming odds. At one critical moment, the warlord himself engaged Liara. He swung a massive weapon toward her, expecting her to falter. But Kale intercepted, using his body to shield her while simultaneously creating an opening. Liara seized the moment, striking the warlord's defenses with precise energy blasts, exploiting the opening Kale had created. The warlord staggered, momentarily disoriented, while Kale's forces pushed forward to capitalize on the advantage. The humans, inspired by Kale's courage and Liara's leadership, fought with renewed determination. They adapted to every move, coordinated attacks flawlessly, and displayed an ingenuity that the warlord's forces had not anticipated. Every trap, every tactic, and every calculated strike reflected the careful preparation and the human spirit's resilience. Liara realized that human strength was more than physical. It was in adaptability, courage, and the willingness to act decisively in the face of danger. Kale's presence on the battlefield amplified these traits, turning ordinary humans into formidable defenders. Even the alien allies were impressed by the humans' performance, seeing qualities they had previously underestimated. The warlord's forces began to falter. Their coordination broke under constant pressure, their morale shaken by unexpected resistance, and their elite units overwhelmed by Kale and Liara's strategy. The defenders pressed forward, reclaiming territory and driving the attackers back. Liara moved among her forces, offering guidance and encouragement, her presence a symbol of hope and resilience. In the midst of the battle, Kale and Liara confronted the warlord again. He was powerful, armored, and relentless, but the combination of human ingenuity and alien skill proved too much. Kale used feints, dodges, and precise strikes to wear down the warlord, while Liara targeted weak points with calculated energy blasts. Together, they forced him to retreat, his forces scattering in disarray. The battlefield fell silent as the warlord's remaining troops fled into the desert. The defenders, exhausted but victorious, regrouped. Liara surveyed the scene, her heart swelling with pride and relief. The humans had proven themselves not just to her but to the galaxy. Their courage, intelligence, and resilience had turned the tide of the battle. Kale approached her, his armor scorched and dented but his expression calm. "They are gone for now," he said. "But we cannot let our guard down. The warlord will return and he will be more dangerous next time." Liara nodded, her gaze firm. "We will be ready. Tonight we have seen what humans are capable of, not just strength, but courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. We can face anything together." The settlement celebrated quietly, aware that victory had come at a cost, but also understanding the significance of what they had achieved. Humans and aliens had fought side by side, proving that cooperation, intelligence, and bravery could overcome even the most formidable adversaries. Liara moved among her people, acknowledging their efforts and offering words of encouragement. Kale stood beside her, observing the humans he had trained. Their skill, determination, and adaptability impressed him. They had grown under his guidance, learning not just to fight but to think strategically and act decisively. He realized that humans' greatest strength was their ability to inspire and unite others, turning ordinary individuals into formidable teams. As dawn broke over the desert, Liara and Kale stood together, looking out over the settlement. The warlord's threat remained, but they had proven that courage, intelligence, and cooperation could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. They had learned to trust one another, to rely on each other's strengths, and to face danger with confidence. Liara turned to Kale. "I have seen humans fight, adapt, and lead. I have seen courage in its purest form. You have shown me that strength is not just physical but moral and mental. It is remarkable." Kale smiled. "And you, Liara, have reminded me why humans fight not for glory but for what is right. Together, we have shown that determination, ingenuity, and courage can change the course of events." The partnership between human and alien had become a symbol of hope, resilience, and the potential for cooperation between species. The battle had proven that even against overwhelming odds, the combination of courage, intelligence, and moral strength could prevail. As they prepared for the next challenges, Liara and Kale knew that their bond, forged in the fires of battle, would guide them. They had survived, learned, and grown stronger. And in doing so, they had shown that humans, despite their reputation for fragility, possessed a unique strength that could inspire, protect, and shape the destiny of entire worlds. The desert wind whispered through the dunes, carrying the promise of future challenges and the certainty of human resilience. Kale and Liara, united by trust, courage, and shared purpose, were ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store. Together, they would continue to fight to lead, and to prove that determination and morality could triumph over any obstacle. The desert stretched endlessly beneath the rising sun, but the settlement stood stronger than ever. Weeks had passed since the last major battle, and Kale and Liara had worked tirelessly to repair defenses, train humans, and prepare for the inevitable return of the warlord. Both were aware that the coming confrontation would test them in ways they could not yet imagine. The warlord would not rest, and neither could they. Liara stood atop the lookout tower, surveying the desert horizon. Her violet eyes scanned every movement, alert for any sign of approaching forces. Though her body had recovered from past injuries, her mind remained sharp, calculating potential threats, predicting enemy strategies, and planning responses. Kale joined her, his presence calm and reassuring. He had fought countless battles, faced overwhelming odds, and survived. Yet here, beside him, Liara felt an unusual sense of confidence, not just in herself, but in the humans she had come to trust. "They will come," she said quietly. "They always do, but we are ready." Kale nodded. "We've trained, we've prepared, and we have each other. That's more than most armies can say." Hours passed with tense anticipation. Scouts reported faint movements on the horizon, distant at first but steadily approaching. The warlord had gathered an even larger force than before, armored units, elite warriors, and advanced weaponry designed to overwhelm. But Kale and Liara had anticipated this escalation. Every unit, every trap, every tactic had been honed to perfection. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the warlord's forces reached the settlement. The ground shook with the march of his army, but Kale's human fighters remained calm, disciplined, and ready. Liara took her position at the command center, energy blade at her side, while Kale coordinated defensive operations across the perimeter. Together, they exuded a presence that inspired courage, strategy, and determination in all who fought alongside them. The first wave of attackers struck immediately. They expected chaos, but the settlement was a fortress of careful preparation. Traps ensnared enemy units, energy nets immobilized armored soldiers, and hidden defenders struck with precise timing. The humans, guided by Kale's training and Liara's insight, fought with ingenuity and determination. Every move reflected not just skill, but heart. Liara's mind worked quickly, anticipating enemy maneuvers and coordinating responses. She noticed a flanking group attempting to bypass the traps. "Northern flank, move east. Ambush them before they reach the perimeter," she commanded. Her voice was calm but authoritative, cutting through the chaos of battle. The humans followed her orders with precision, catching the enemy off guard. Kale engaged the warlord's elite forces at the center. The attackers were powerful, well-trained, and relentless, but Kale's human ingenuity shone. He used terrain, timing, and calculated strikes to weaken them, all while protecting key units and maintaining morale. The humans he had trained moved like a single organism, their coordination and creativity turning the battlefield to their advantage. Liara, despite her previous injuries, fought alongside him. Her energy blade moved with precision, striking where it mattered most, disabling opponents without unnecessary force. Every action was deliberate, demonstrating that strength was not just physical, but strategic and moral. Together, she and Kale formed a force that even the warlord had underestimated. The battle intensified as the warlord himself rode onto the battlefield. Massive, imposing, and armored, he seemed unstoppable. His elite warriors surged forward, aiming to break through the defenders' lines and reach Liara. Kale and Liara exchanged a brief glance, silent communication passing between them. "Stay close," Kale said. "We will face him together," Liara nodded. Fear was present, but it did not dominate. She had learned from Kale that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. With energy blade in hand, she joined the fray. Kale moved with precision, intercepting the warlord's attacks and creating openings. Liara struck at weak points, exploiting every opportunity. Their teamwork, honed over weeks of training and battles, was seamless. Humans and a few loyal alien allies rallied behind them, inspired by the courage and strategy of their leaders. Even outnumbered, they fought with determination, using traps, terrain, and improvisation to gain the upper hand. Every human action reflected the traits Liara had come to respect: ingenuity, courage, adaptability, and moral strength. At a critical moment, the warlord launched a devastating strike aimed directly at Liara. Kale reacted instantly, placing himself between her and the attack. He used his strength to shield her while creating an opening for a counterstrike. Liara seized the moment, channeling energy into a precise blast that struck the warlord's armor, causing him to stagger. The humans took advantage, pressing forward with calculated attacks. The warlord, frustrated and enraged, attempted to rally his forces, but the defenders' coordination and strategy were unmatched. Human ingenuity and determination, combined with Liara's intelligence and leadership, turned the tide. Traps, ambushes, and quick thinking forced the warlord's forces into disadvantageous positions. Confusion spread among his ranks, and morale faltered. Kale and Liara moved through the battlefield like a single unit. Kale's strength and tactical mind complemented Liara's agility and strategic insight. Together, they protected their allies, struck at critical points, and exploited weaknesses in the enemy's formation. The humans, inspired by their leader's example, demonstrated that courage, adaptability, and intelligence could overcome even the most formidable foes. As the battle reached its climax, the warlord realized that brute force alone would not win. He faced Kale and Liara directly, attempting to overpower them with strength and aggression. But the combination of human strategy and courage proved too much. Kale used feints, timing, and precise strikes, while Liara targeted weak points and coordinated the defenders. The warlord was pushed back, his confidence shattered by the unexpected resistance. The humans pressed their advantage. Every trap, every strategic move, and every act of courage reflected their HFY qualities: ingenuity, determination, and moral strength. Liara moved among them, guiding, inspiring, and supporting. She realized that human resilience was not about raw power alone. It was about courage, creativity, and the willingness to act decisively. Finally, the warlord's forces began to retreat. Exhausted, demoralized, and disorganized, they fled across the desert, leaving the settlement victorious. The defenders, though battered and weary, had survived. Liara and Kale stood together, surveying the battlefield, their faces marked with fatigue but also satisfaction. They had proven that determination, ingenuity, and courage could overcome even the most formidable threats. The settlement celebrated cautiously. Victory had come at a cost, but the humans and allies, bravery and ingenuity had made the difference. Liara moved among them, offering gratitude and encouragement. She had witnessed firsthand the qualities that made humans remarkable: courage under pressure, adaptability in the face of danger, and an unyielding commitment to protect life and freedom. Kale joined her, observing the humans he had trained. They fought well, he said, not because of strength alone, but because of heart and mind. That is what makes humans special, Liara nodded. I understand now. Humans are not just physically resilient, they inspire, lead, and adapt. Their courage is contagious. Tonight, they have proven that they can shape the destiny of worlds. In the following days, Kale and Liara worked to secure the settlement, repair damages, and ensure the safety of everyone present. The battle had tested their limits, but it had also forged a deep bond between them. Trust, respect, and shared experience had become the foundation of their partnership. Liara's confidence in humans had grown, and Kale's admiration for her wisdom and courage deepened. Together, they devised plans for the future. Liara envisioned a world where humans and aliens could cooperate, learn from each other, and build societies based on justice, courage, and respect. Kale shared his experiences from other worlds, emphasizing the importance of adaptability, ingenuity, and moral strength. They understood that the lessons learned in this battle could shape more than just their settlement. They could influence entire civilizations. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the desert, Liara turned to Kale. You have shown me what humans are capable of, not just as warriors, but as leaders and allies. You have taught me that courage, intelligence, and morality can overcome any obstacle. Kale smiled. And you, Liara, have reminded me that leadership, wisdom, and courage are universal. Different species, different worlds, but the principles are the same. Together, humans and aliens can face any challenge. Their bond had become a symbol of cooperation, resilience, and the potential of diverse beings working together. The warlord's threat had been neutralized, but the lessons learned would endure. Humans, once underestimated, had demonstrated qualities that could inspire and protect, shaping the future through courage, ingenuity, and moral strength. As the sun rose over the desert, Liara and Kale stood together, looking out over the settlement. They had survived, learned, and grown stronger. The humans had proven their worth, not through brute force, but through determination, intelligence, and heart. Liara understood now that true strength was measured not by power alone, but by courage, adaptability, and the willingness to act for what is right. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. We are ready for whatever comes next. Together, humans and allies can face any challenge, and nothing can break that bond. Liara nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose and confidence. The battles had been hard, the challenges immense, but the partnership forged in adversity had created something stronger than any weapon or armor. It was trust, courage, and the determination to protect what mattered most. In the days that followed, the settlement thrived. Humans and alien allies worked together, sharing knowledge, skills, and resources. Liara took on a leadership role, guiding her people with wisdom and compassion, while Kale continued to train and inspire the humans. The lessons of the battlefield became the foundation for a stronger, more united community. The warlord's threat remained a distant shadow, but his power had been diminished. Liara and Kale knew that future challenges might arise, yet they were prepared. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and moral strength could overcome even the most formidable foes. As the desert wind swept through the dunes, carrying the scent of distant lands, Liara and Kale stood side by side. They had faced death, danger, and overwhelming odds, yet emerged victorious. Their story became a testament to the strength of humans, the power of cooperation, and the enduring spirit of those who fight for what is right. Liara looked at Kale, a smile of gratitude and admiration on her face. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything, for saving me, for teaching me, for showing me what humans are capable of." Kale smiled back. "And thank you, Liara, for showing me the value of courage, wisdom, and determination. Together, we have proven that anything is possible when people fight for what is right." The twin moons rose higher in the sky, illuminating the settlement and the vast desert beyond. Liara and Kale, united by trust, courage, and shared purpose, were ready for the future. Their bond, forged in battle,